Have you ever just stopped and wondered why you do the things you do? Why you can't stop thinking about something you're trying to forget, or why you sometimes feel like a total stranger in your own head? Well, guess what? You've just stumbled upon the user's manual. So let's pull back the curtain on the most complex, most fascinating machine in the entire universe, your mind.
I want to start with a number that should, honestly, kind of blow your mind. 99%. That's how much of your mental activity is happening completely unconsciously. Right now, as you're listening to me, your brain is running the entire show, making you breathe, keeping your heart beating, filtering out background noise, all of it without you having to do a single thing.
The absolute best way to picture this is with that classic iceberg analogy. You see that little tip sticking out of the water? Yeah, that's your conscious mind. That's the part you're aware of, the part you think is you. But the massive, gigantic, hidden bulk underneath the waves, that's your unconscious, and it's making almost all of your decisions. It's the reason you can drive all the way home on autopilot and have zero memory of the trip. It's a little scary, right? But it's also completely amazing.
But here's where it gets really, really interesting. Your brain isn't just one single thing. Nope. It's more like an inner committee with 3 totally different members all grabbing for the microphone, all trying to be in charge. So let's meet this rowdy bunch.
First up, you've got your reptilian brain. Its only job is survival. Fight, flight, food. That's it. It's why you jump at loud noises or suddenly crave donuts. Then you've got the emotional brain. You can think of this one as the drama queen. It makes decisions based purely on feelings, not facts. And finally, there's the rational brain, your prefrontal cortex. This is the CEO, trying to make calm, logical decisions, while the other two are screaming about imminent danger and having a full-on tantrum.
So, who usually wins this internal battle? Okay, let's try a little experiment. Right now, I want you to try your hardest not to think about a pink elephant wearing sunglasses. Seriously, don't picture it, don't imagine its cool shades. What happened? You immediately thought of it, didn't you? This is the perfect illustration that your conscious CEO isn't really the boss. Your brain just does what it does before you can even tell it to stop.
Okay, so we have this crazy committee running the show in all of our heads. But what about our unique personality? The thing that makes you, you? Well, psychologists have figured out that it's kind of like a recipe, with 5 main ingredients.
And these are the big 5 personality traits. Just think for a second about where you might fall on these scales. Are you high in openness, an explorer, always looking for the next new thing? Or do you prefer a comfortable routine? Are you a super conscientious organizer, or are you more spontaneous? Do you get your energy from being around people, like an extrovert, or do you recharge your battery alone? Are you the agreeable peacekeeper in your group, or are you a little more competitive? And what about neuroticism? Is your inner worry meter turned way up, or are you pretty calm under pressure? Everybody has all 5 of these, just in different amounts.
So where does this personal recipe even come from? Is it nature or is it nurture? Well, the answer seems to be, yep, both. In fact, some incredible studies of identical twins who were separated at birth revealed something absolutely mind-blowing. In one famous case, 2 guys, both named Jim, were reunited at 39 and found out they had both married and divorced women named Linda, then married women named Betty, and even vacationed at the exact same beach in Florida. Wild, right? The big takeaway is this: your personality is roughly a 50-50 split between your genes and your life experiences.
All right, let's switch gears and talk about the stories we tell ourselves about our past. And this might be one of the most surprising truths in all of psychology. Quick question for you. What did you have for lunch exactly 1 week ago today? If you can't remember, that's fine. But here's the real shocker. Even the memories you are crystal clear about are probably wrong.
Most of us walk around thinking our memory works like a video camera, perfectly recording everything as it happens. But the psychological truth, it's much more like a Wikipedia page. Every single time you recall a memory, you're not just playing it back, you're actually opening the file and rewriting it with new emotions, new information, new perspectives. You are constantly editing your own past, and you don't even know you're doing it.
And just how flexible is our memory? Well, the psychologist Elizabeth Loftus famously conducted experiments where she was able to convince people they had vivid, detailed memories of being lost in a shopping mall as a kid, an event that never, ever happened to them. This research completely changed our understanding of things like eyewitness testimony, which used to be the gold standard in court. It turns out our memories are reconstructions, not recordings.
So far, we've been looking inside the mind. But now, let's look out. Let's talk about the powerful, invisible forces all around us that are constantly pulling our strings. Because at our core,
We are social creatures, and that one fact changes absolutely everything.
Back in the 1950s, a psychologist named Solomon Asch ran a really simple experiment. He'd show people a line and then asked him to match it to one of 3 other lines. An easy task, right? But here's the twist. He put the real participant in a room with a bunch of actors who were all told to give the same, obviously wrong answer. The results were staggering. 75% of people conformed and gave the wrong answer at least once just to fit in with the group. It seems our brains would rather be wrong with other people than be right all by ourselves.
And trust me, it gets even more unsettling. Stanley Milgram wanted to see how far people would go when they were just following orders. He had participants administer what they thought were increasingly painful electric shocks to another person in a different room. The terrifying result? When an authority figure in a lab coat just calmly said, "The experiment requires you to continue," a shocking 65% of people went all the way to the maximum voltage. This deep-seated social influence leads to a really dangerous paradox. We tend to think there's safety in numbers, but psychologically, the opposite is often true. It's called the bystander effect. The more people who see a crisis unfolding, the less likely it is that any single person will step up and help because everybody just assumes someone else will. It's this weird diffusion of responsibility.
Okay, so we've seen all these hidden forces at play, both inside our own heads and in the world around us. And that's all fascinating. But what do we actually do with this information? Well, let's turn these big ideas into a practical, everyday toolkit.
So let's just quickly pull all this together. We've learned that our unconscious mind is really in the driver's seat, that our brain is basically a committee of rivals, always in negotiation, that powerful social forces are constantly shaping what we do, whether we realize it or not, that our memory is not a perfect video recording but a constant reconstruction, and that our emotions, they're just data, not some kind of character flaw.
So how can you use this stuff like today? Well, you can try the 90-second rule. When you feel a big emotion, just wait 90 seconds before you react, and let the initial chemical rush pass. If you think you can't do something, just add the word "yet" to the end of that sentence. That's a growth mindset. To learn something new, use the spacing effect. Study in short bursts over time instead of cramming. You can even reduce conflict just by naming your emotions. I feel frustrated when. It's called emotional labeling. And finally, you can design your environment to support the person you want to be. These aren't just tricks, they're superpowers.
And that brings us to one last big idea: the observer effect. In quantum physics, the very act of observing something changes it, and the exact same thing is true for psychology. Just by knowing these principles, by becoming an observer of your own mind, you've already started to change how it operates. You now have the user's manual. So, the only question left is, what are you going to do with it?